Shields could never finish his sentence, as exactly at that moment, the gate to the crew quarters exploded into smithereens, momentarily blinding everyone inside. Welcome back to Sunrider, everyone, where, well, hopefully, our cover won't be blown. I know I keep saying that. In a flash, Marines piled into the room. There we go, there's our cover being blown. By the time Shields had recovered his vision, he was completely surrounded by a squad of armed troops, pointing their rifles at him. I never knew we had guys like this. He slowly raised his hands over his head. In front of him, Ikari did the same. Also, these guns are a little more archaic than I imagined they might be. Oh, wait a minute. He looked around in confusion. Claude had somehow vanished from the room. Did she use her powers to escape? And before he could produce another thought, the Marines grabbed onto him and pushed him out into the hallway. Oh boy, 14 hours till Shigara enters the mine stream. 50 hours till the massacre, but hopefully that won't matter. Shields kept his hands on top of his head as a Marine shoved him to his knees. A wall of well-armed troopers in full body armor stood in front of him. The human wall parted to let a man through to face Shields. It was Shields, right? It was past Kayto. Oh man. Kayto Shields clenched his teeth as he stared down. Kayto Shields. You really do look like an identical copy. Just then, Shigara emerged from the room, escorted by a pair of crewmen. She immediately ran to the other Shields and embraced him. Oh, trust me, this is real. The ship's security has been compromised by 2 intruders. One of them happens to look identical to me. This fellow right here. Cover's been blown. Now Chikara's playing along with my past self-suspicions. On top of all of that, does my voice seriously sound like that? I sound so lame. I thought my voice was so much deeper. As if I don't have enough problems. One thing at a time, Kayto. One thing at a time. I don't know what he sought to gain by kidnapping you, but I intend to find out. You're making a mistake. That girl's not who you think she is. In just a few hours, she'll... Shields lost his words when another face emerged from the wall of Marines. So he's fooled Ikari too, then. Get her to sickbay and make sure she's alright. And take him away, boys. We can find out what he's after once he's secured in the brig. Resume the search for the other imposter, and keep the ship on high alert until she has been found. As Marines pushed Shields towards the brig, he tried to face Ava. Ava, you've got to trust me, I'm Kayto Shields. Shigara's a prototype, just as you said. If you don't stop her by tomorrow, everything we've worked for will be lost. One of the Marines powdered Shields' gut with the butt of his rifle. He felt 2 strong hands grip his shoulders and drag him into the brig. That took 3 hours. Shields faced his doppelganger as he spoke through the intercom. Listen to me, you dumb oaf. I really am you, just from the future. I've come to warn you of a massacre which will happen. He repeated his desperate warnings to his past self for the better part of the past 2 hours, but it was clear that he was not getting through. Shigara is a prototype. If she enters the mine stream a few hours from now, she'll be mind-controlled by the leader of the prototypes and carry out... The other shields cut him off, his voice cracking with impatience. Alright, enough about Chigara. I want to know how you got on board this ship and who you were actually working for. You're a prototype, aren't you? Have you guys started generating clones of me too now? Look, it was pretty weird when we discovered you prototypes were making artificial clones of Chigara. But now me too? Just what is up with you guys and making clones of people on board this ship? What were you trying to gain by trying to recruit Ikari into your mission? And for what purpose did you kidnap Chigara? It's hopeless. There's no way I'm ever going to convince this blockhead that Chigara is going to cause the Liberation Day massacre at this rate. The other shields sighed in exasperation on the other side of the glass. Honestly, Shields was inclined to do the same. I bet they enjoyed writing this. Here was one agonizingly stubborn individual to argue with. All of a sudden, he felt compelled to apologize to Ava for his personality once all this is over. He had never known he was so stubborn until now. Finally, the other Shields left the intercom with an irritated look on his face and spoke to Ava. A solid layer of reinforced neo-glass separated Shields from the outside world, making it impossible to hear anything outside of his little fish tank. If only I could hear what they were saying. Wait a minute. I remember reading a maintenance request form about this holding cell. Something about the cell door failing to seal completely. Maybe if I'm lucky it hasn't been fixed yet. Shields pretended to crumple to the floor in defeat, and put his ears up against the crack where the gate came down on the floor. Sure enough, he could now hear, faintly, the other Shields and Ava's exchange. No. First off, he's not Kayto Shields. Ava, you're still going on about that. How many times do I have to tell you the prototypes just want to sow division within our ranks? This imposter's probably just their latest attempt at the same strategy. In fact, everything here falls under the same pattern of them trying to get us to turn on each other. We're one family aboard this ship. It's that bond which makes us strong. The prototypes are trying to undermine it. No, you idiot! It's you who's so fixated on your family that you can't see what's obvious to everyone else. Shields nearly banged his head on the cell door in frustration at hearing himself talk. Someone, please give this man a good whomp to the head. That's enough, Commander. Continue to interrogate the prisoner, find out what the prototypes are after. That's an order. And with that, the other Shields left the brig while Ava was left by herself, trembling with anger. Does she finally see something? With that, she stormed off into the hallway as well. Shields was left alone inside his cell. All he could hear was the sound of his own breathing inside the tiny glass cage. He paced nervously inside the cell as time continued to tick by. Now that he was stripped of his uniform and was wearing nothing but a basic prisoner's jumpsuit, he had no way of telling the time anymore. Now what? Do I wait for Claude to show up again? And just where did she go anyways? 9 hours. A short time later, he heard someone knock on the holding tank. Shields looked up to see Ikari on the opposite side of the glass, fiddling with the wiring of the brig door. After a few seconds, the gate raised open. He ran out and met Ikari. Yo, you too, Ikari. You too. Yeah, I bet it's his new girlfriend. Kari, please don't talk about my other self as if I'm not here. Yeah, fooling him into thinking you were totally normal. You're implying that you're not totally normal, Ikari. Thanks for busting me out. Yes. Ikari passed him a new set of captain's uniforms. Thanks. Shields looked around uncomfortably for a place to change, but didn't particularly find anywhere useful. Turn your head. Ikari covered her eyes with her hands moments before Shields quickly pulled down his jail trousers and slipped into his uniform. This is hardly the time to be worried about that. Shields finished putting on his uniform. Alright, show's over, let's move. Ikari swiped a strange-looking device on the tunnel's gate, instantly unlocking it. Shields assumed it was some sort of improvised skeleton key, and crawled into the tunnel without asking any questions. Once they were safely deep within the Sunrider's mechanical innards, the two of them paused to decide their next course of action. The first order of business is to send the encrypted message to Fontana. Then, we have to figure out a way to put Chigara out of commission. Oh man, I don't like the sound of this. But now that security's on high alert, getting into my room is not going to be a walk in the park. Think you can distract security for a bit? Oh man, I hope nothing bad will happen to Ikari. Okay, let's move. Ikari and Shields climbed out of a service tunnel and dropped down near the captain's office. As expected, a pair of Marines stood in front of their destination, rifles held at the ready. We're going to have to figure out a way to get them out of there. Ikari pulled out her holo and hacked into the Sunrider's security information network in an instant. You never told us about this? Oh, okay. You left it for yourself. Ikari created an alert on the network the intruders had been sighted in the sickbay. Ah, nice. I guess it pays to have the chief of security on your side. Shields breathed in relief as he entered his office. But just because I'm home doesn't mean that I can afford to relax. He ran to his desk and activated the FTL comm. He put in a request to contact Fontana on board the packed assault carrier Vei Victus. The transmission kept beeping, waiting for a response. Shields tapped his desk in impatience as the beeps continued. Come on, you blasted pretty boy. What are you doing? Pick up the phone! Shields' chest felt as if it was going to burst as the transmission kept beeping. Come on, what's taking so long, Fontana? Taking a bath? Preening in front of the mirror? What? Don't tell me it takes a full hour for you to get dressed and groomed for a phone call. Ah, you girly boy. Just as Shields uttered those words, Fontana's face appeared above his desk. Or maybe more like just before he uttered those words. Fontana stared at Shields with a decidedly annoyed look on his face. Darn it! Come on! Shields furiously tapped the button to resend the transmission request. Finally, Fontana appeared once more. Yeah, don't shout. Sheesh. No, no, no. Listen to me, Fontana. This is important. Your ships have been... Just then he heard the front door to his office open. A lone Marine wandered in. Oh, Fontana duck. Shields and Ikari dived behind his desk. Fontana instinctively ducked down as well, upon seeing everyone react the same way. Fontana and Shields grimaced when they realized they were practically sitting on top of each other. Fontana's hologram partially merged with Shields' body. You... Shh. Quiet. It's Captain Season. Listen, your ships have been hacked with the prototype virus. Tomorrow, they'll use it to assume full control of your ships and attack the combined fleet. You have to do everything in your power to undo the virus. I'm not joking, but I've got to go. Do it, or else we're all going to die tomorrow. With that, Shields cut the transmission. Well, that went about as bad as it possibly could, but at least Fontana is one to take things seriously, so hopefully he'll do something about that. Hopefully. So he doesn't just brush it off as a joke. No, a man like Fontana would be far too careful to just blow off a warning like that. Just one. I think we can take him. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2... What exactly are we supposed to do? We didn't plan anything. 3! The two of them leapt over the desk at the same time, sending a pile of unfinished paperwork into the air. Unfortunately, a rogue sheet of paperwork landed right in front of Shields' face and obscured his vision. Darn it, you should have done it, Shields! The Marine tossed Ikari aside and raised his rifle simultaneously as Shields tore the sheet of paper from his face and lunged for him. They collided and fell to the floor. Shields immediately put his hand over the Marine's mouth and tried to strangle him. Unfortunately, with a swift knee to Shields' gut, the Marine managed to regain the upper hand. And just as the Marine raised his gun to finish Shields off, Ikari appeared behind the Marine and smashed his head in with Shields' prized teapot. Ah. He cringed, expecting his prized heirloom to now be in a million pieces. To his utter surprise, the teapot remained completely unharmed, and judging from the unconscious Marine, apparently hit harder than reinforced steel. Wait a minute. Chikara reinforced that pot for me. Of course. That girl really must have done something incredible for it to still be in one piece after being smashed up against someone's skull like that. I wonder if it's pretty much indestructible. Maybe we should stuff it in our coat for later. Still, Shields took the teapot away from Ikari and returned it to his shelf. Darn, we could have used it as some sort of bulletproof shield. Be careful with that. Oh, she looks so worried now. They ran out of the office before any more Marines could show up. However, as soon as they left Shields' office, the duo came face to face with the squad of Marines. This is a very bad day. Completely outnumbered and surrounded by rifles, Shields had no choice but to put his hands on top of his head. Again. Not quite what I was hoping for. But we could actually use this to our advantage. He motioned for Ikari to follow his lead. She slowly put her hands on top of her head as well. Alright, we surrender. But I'm willing to talk. Take me to your leader. No need. The other Shields emerged from behind the squad of Marines with the commander. You've got some guts breaking into my office. What were you trying to pull in there? I just saved you by warning Fontana that the prototype sabotaged his ships. He'll thank me for it later. Ikari, I don't know what's going on, but you helped this imposter escape by hacking into our security system. When I brought you on board this ship, you swore that you would play by my rules. What happened to that? Now they're calling him out on it. I don't see any new developments. Just same old prototype plot to split this ship apart. Commander, you are out of line. Enough! Oh boy. Ikari's right. It's do or die time. Shields slowly lowered his hands from his head to the sound of the Marines locking and loading their rifles. Shields, how about we settle this man to man? I'm you. You're me. Believe me, I've stood in your shoes before. I was so cocky that I couldn't see the truth dangling right in front of my eyes. Marines, hold your fire. The other shields marched up to his mirror image. They stood face to face. Alright, I'll bite. If you really are me, you should know all that Chigara has done for us. She's had hundreds of opportunities to kill us before, and yet each time she has defended this ship. To question her now would be tantamount to betraying my family. That's because she's a sleeper spy. Right now, all she's doing is reading your influence, but when the time comes, she'll lose control of her body and destroy all that you've worked for. If so, what would you have me do? Kill her? Imprison her for life? Protect her from being controlled by the prototypes. This is for Chikara's sake as well, and for the lives of everyone on board this ship. And the billions who will be saved if this war ends now. You don't know what my future's like. If you think you're protecting Chikara right now, you're gonna be in for one hell of a shock. You've got to do this for her. All lies. Chikara will save us. She's all that matters. I won't betray her. She is everything. The other shields grabbed Shields by the scruff of the collar. Staring deep within his past self eyes, Shields only saw a massive empty void, as deep as the darkest trench. All I need is her. Shields struggled against his other self's grip as he raved with madness. You've been corrupted. Ava was right. This version of myself has become a slave to the prototypes. At this rate, reasoning with him is completely useless. What has Chigara done with him? Marines looked around in a panic, at a loss as to what to do. On one hand, the captain of the ship had just relieved the commander of her authority, but it was clear from his mad raving that their captain was no longer fit to lead them. You moron! Shields clenched his teeth. Wake up! Shields shoved his past self away and delivered an almighty punch right to his other version's kisser. The other Shields fell flat on his back against the floor. Shields stood over him and bellowed. He bellowed the truth which he only knew. For he was not speaking to an adversary or a prototype puppet. He was speaking to himself. This isn't about Chigara. This never was about her. All of it is to exorcise the ghost which haunts you by the bedside every night. The ghost of the one person you regret failing the most. I know. I tried to move on by finding a new future. Future far from war, surrounded by my children. But all of that was a lie. A deception used by the enemy to control me. Me! Nothing I do will ever return Murray to me, nor will it absolve me of the crime of abandoning millions to die that day. But such is war. In war, scars are opened. Scars which may never close. Scars which we must wear for the remainder of our lives. But I won't let any more of my crew die because I could not face the truth. The dead are gone. Some battles end in nothing but defeat. It's time for you to face the truth. Both eyes open. Tears ran from both their eyes. Those were the words both men lived by. No matter the torment, no matter the comforts Chigara may offer, Kayto's shields would not close his eyes to the galaxy he needed to defend. His other self's face returned to normal. Commander, revoke the Chief Engineer's security access and have her detained. Tension finally deflated. The Marines put down their rifles, all parties exhaling in relief. The ghost which spawned from that wretched day will never leave my side. All the more reason she should not gain new friends in the afterlife. With that, the other Kayto shields stood up and straightened his uniform. I am convening an emergency staff meeting. We'll have to devise a new battle plan without Chigara's participation. Commander, gather Lieutenant. As for my other self, I'm sure his insight will be most valuable in the coming battle. After all, he's at least as smart as I am. Despite the two men being at each other's throats a second ago, Shields could not help but chuckle at his own joke. Heh, heh, heh. Shields walked to the mess hall for some food and drink, thoroughly exhausted after the staff meeting. He had told his future self everything he knew of the enemy's capabilities. Meanwhile, Fontana informed them that his best minds were working around the clock to restore control over their ships. However, it would be another 2 hours before the fixes were completed. Chigara was safely detained in the brig. So far, there were no signs of the prototype leader assuming control over her. In other words, Shield had done everything he possibly could to avert the Liberation Day massacre. Now that all that remained was to wait and see if his efforts bore fruit. You know, this is going surprisingly well all of a sudden. I thought someone might die back there. Possibly us. He saw Ikari sitting in a bar stool, sipping on a mug of beer. He leaned down against the counter. Regulation strictly forbids the consumption of alcohol on yellow alert status. Looks like you're in for quite a bit of trouble, Merc. Aha! Victory. Well, it's still too soon to celebrate, Ikari. We might have managed to send the transmission to Fontana and detain Chigara, but the battle still has to be won. Ikari took a long chug of her drink. You're so confident. Ikari motioned the bartender to pour Shields a mug as well. It's not every day you can say that for sure. I can drink to that. Two of them clinked their glasses together and took a sip. Yeah, I know you don't like me or anything, you're not even blushing. Just another day at the job. But the full details are too complicated for the human brain to even comprehend. In the end, though, we'll all continue to exist, completely oblivious to the fact that I ever travelled back in time to rewrite the future. In the end, as long as the massacre never occurs, that outcome is within acceptable mission parameters. Weird. Oh boy. Well, I guess things would start from the point of deviation. What are you saying? Are you sure you're not drunk? Well, don't grow attracted so easily. Are you sure? Come on. Oi. What's even the point of drinking more non-alcoholics? And yet, 3 more jugs later. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Why are you asking a question like this? And why do you look slightly drunk? I'm afraid that information's classified. That almost sounds like a little bit of jealousy. Yes, sometimes it just doesn't work out. You sound like you have a fair bit of experience with this sort of stuff. And one of those things is not like the others. Well, how about you, Akari? Are you and the Lieutenant, But you seem to spend every spare moment you have with her. What? What? You're always trying to act so cool, but I bet if I actually take that offer seriously, you'll just collapse like a big house of cards. I can't believe this girl is actually trying to pull this little gag on me. I bet as soon as I accept, she's just gonna say psych and act all high and mighty that I fell for a little play hook, line and sinker. Let's see just how far she can keep going with this little prank until her facade crumbles apart. Oh boy. Alright, well, that seems like a good place to end it for now. Just like at the beginning of the game, everything seems to be going almost too well now. I guess we'll find out next time if we have really achieved our objective or not. Although I guess we'll have to wait until the actual time of the massacre. It'll be interesting. I mean, that massacre shouldn't happen, should it? Because Chigara needs to be there? We just need to make sure that Chigara can't be there. Or at the very least that she doesn't enter the mind stream until very late, because that was the moment where she got corrupted. Well, I'm probably thinking a bit too much about this. Let's see, we didn't get any choices in this part, did we? But that's fine, because, well, things were turning out fine. And if this were any other game, well, this would definitely be a psych out, but because it's Sunrider, you probably know what's going to happen in the next part. I wonder if I'll have to do anything. Alright, see you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.